Vanakkam, hi, this is Nadhiya. You're watching IndiaGlitz.com. We have a lot of responsibility. Being a daughter, to being a sister, to being a mother, a wife, a mother-in-law, a grandmother. We have lots and lots of roles to play. And I think the most important thing is, from a very young age, it's always us as women who we are taught to kind of hold the family together, adjust, probably compromise to some extent, to be accommodating. So I think we've slowly come to the stage where we even teach the men in our family. And I think the responsibility again lies as a mother or a mother-in-law to teach their sons as to how they could respect women more, or even, for example, today we have a lot of women who are working. In fact, just in today's papers, I was reading about how a woman can be successful only and purely if her family stands by her, especially after she's married. I mean, when she's growing up, of course, the parents always want the women to be educated, to be independent. Me also, as growing up, as I'd mentioned earlier at some other event, we grew up, our parents taught us to be very independent. Independent in the sense is, taking up responsibility, whatever is required of our age or as a girl, as a woman, simply to even kind of changing a light bulb in your house. It doesn't have to be a man's job. It can be very well a woman's job. So I think, in a way, I think it's just being a woman, trying to make her think independently, do things independently. I would never say men and women are equal. There's always going to be a difference. But independence is something which is to his own. So I think that factor of being a woman, I think, is just being, very proud, because we have lots of roles to play and we have lot of responsibilities. Women, I think, is very important, is a core of who we are, in the sense, I mean, we wouldn't be here if we wouldn't have been born out of a woman. So I think they're the seed that has grown us to be this beautiful flower or this plant or whatever it is, hypothetically. I think we women play a varied role, whether it's on celluloid or whether it's on everyday life basis. So I think we have facets to face in our life, and I think it's quite important being a woman in this world. We are in the movie industry where it's predominantly male industry. When I was acting in the 80s, I remember we wouldn't have a single woman on the set except for the female artists. The only other person would be someone who's doing your touch-up or your hairdresser, used to be mainly women. But otherwise, when I'm working today, it's lovely to see so many women as stylists, or there could be women who are associate directors, assistant directors, people behind the camera. So I think we've reached a stage where a woman can do much more than she's expected to do. So even though we predominantly live in a society where it's male, we are still finding our path, we are still finding our position in the society where we can prove ourselves and we are being accepted. It's very interesting because my very first film which I did, which was Poove Poochudava, was a role where I was not shown as a typical demure girl, shy or anything of that sort. Funnily, I had more of a male attitude in the film than of a female attitude, which I think worked well, simply because I think it was a freshness on the screen of how a woman can be portrayed, how confident she can be, and yet stay within the parameters of being respectful and a woman who realizes her boundaries, yet be sure of what she is doing. I don't know if I'm making myself very clear. I think that is where Poove Poochudava stood kind of very differently. And then after many years, I did a role called Mahalakshmi, which was in the film Kumaran Son of Mahalakshmi, a Tamil film. And then, of course, I moved from the heroine, the teenager, to a matured woman where I play a mother. And I was extremely proud of playing that role because I moved with time. I played a mom, again, who is vivacious, who is fun, who is cool, yet realizes responsibility of bringing up a son, making him independent. And yet she was shown to be a woman who was separated from her husband, still held the respect for her husband and made sure the son would go back to the father without holding any grudges. So I think I would rather play roles which are very inspiring, empowering as a woman, and yet have a lot of positive spin to it. Because we in cinema, especially with the heroines of yesteryears, and then we end up playing roles as a mother or a matured character, whatever it might be. I think the problem there is they haven't made a mother character seem very, desirable. In cinema, when they say, she's playing a mother's role, it somehow doesn't have a great connotation to it. I wish it would have been she's playing a super mom's role or she's playing a fun mom's role. Add an adjective to the mom character that, the woman is playing. So I think it's evolved over time. In fact, in this phase of my career where I'm playing quite strong character roles, I'm enjoying it far, far better than when I played my heroine roles, simply because I find it much more challenging. And for a woman who is in her 40s, I think it's a challenge. It's a challenge to stay fit, it's a challenge to look good, it's a challenge to play different characters, which requires a lot of research. It's not just playing a character. And I think as we get older and being a mother, it just makes you more sensitive. So certain scenes, I remember I just recently did a Malayalam film and the director was just explaining the scene to me where the husband I suspect the husband seeing someone else and I'm almost sure he's seeing someone else. And he was just explaining the scene about how I'm just trying to tell the kids that, everything will be okay. You don't have to worry. As he was just explaining the scene, I had my tears rolling down and he couldn't understand why it was. I said, I have a really, really accommodating and a wonderful husband. There's nothing of that sort happening in my life right now. But I was just thinking of another woman in that position and what she must be going through. So I think I can relate to those things much better today. And I think that makes my work more challenging, more interesting, and more difficult as well sometimes.